what's not commonly talked about in EMS is how do we get that PPE on? We've detailed a number of things that we think you're supposed to wear. It actually might make a little bit of a difference in terms of how you get that on and off. Now, luckily, this is not nearly as complicated as the Ebola stuff, if you were around for that, which was a nightmare. This is a little bit simpler. This is putting on a gown, gloves, face mask, and a surgical mask. But let's talk about how to get that stuff actually on and off. This again the graphics you'll see here again come from the CDC and have the recommendations. I will tell you if I'm going off book with it. So start by how to get it on. You've got a gown. This could be a reusable gown, or this could be a standard, hospital issue disposable woven gown. So I've used this one a couple of times, and so it has gotten some tears in it. You ideally would not be using a gown that is perforated already. Put one arm in. If there's a little thumb hole, you put your thumb through that hole. Put the other arm in. And again, this one, normally you wouldn't have this big hole here. If there are ties on the back of the gown, then you tie it. You got the gown on. I would also people don't, but I would recommend taking these ties if this is the type of gown that you had, and doing the ties, because otherwise the thing blows around. And in fact, not only should I recommend, I should say we just need to do this. You can imagine if this thing is blowing around and a gust of wind hits it and goes, then you've contaminated, your head, your hair, whatever else you're talking, your forehead. Don't do that. Keep it close to your body. It's not just looking professional and looking like you know what you're doing and not looking like a bum. There is actually a safety thing for it. So we've got our gown on, and again, this doesn't fasten in the back just because I've used it before. There we go. Gown is on, just like so. Next, you should be putting on your face mask. This guy down here. Again, you can use ties, or you can use the ones with the little elastic bands. It goes on the front of your face like that, things over the ears, and then pull that down, push it around your nose. So if you're wearing an N95 mask, you really shouldn't get a lot of fogging of like your glasses, which I'm getting a lot right now with this surgical mask, which is not designed to seal. If you're getting a lot of fogging when you're using an N95 mask, that probably means you have a poor seal and it's probably leaking up there to start off with. So that's a problem if you're seeing it. But you will get a lot with a surgical mask. That's just the nature of it. It's not designed to seal. So I've got my mask on. Eye protection, again, is important, and regular glasses won't cut it for this. Again, if you have nothing else, it's better than nothing. But what is better is to use a face shield or to use a set of safety glasses and eye protection that wraps entirely around to the side as well and provides contact with your face there. So now I've got my eye protection on, I've got my face mask on, I've got my gown on. We just need some gloves. And again, a single set of nitrile gloves is just fine. You don't have to do you should have done some hand, cleaning before, but you don't have to do like the 2 sets and the taping and all that stuff like before. This is fairly straightforward. Just putting on the gloves so that they cover over top of the edge of the gown, just like that. And again, all this is being done away from the patient. So none of this stuff should be contaminated. This should all be clean. So you theoretically could, touch any of this. As soon as you walk into the patient room, or as soon as you get within that 6 feet of the patient, or touch anything, then it's contaminated at that point, or you should assume it's contaminated. So there I'm all set. I've got my gloves on. I've got my mask or my face shield on. I've got my facial protection on. I've got my gown on. How do you get that stuff off? This is probably the more tricky thing. If you were to put these on in almost any order other than just making sure that your gloves go on the right way, then that's probably not that big a deal. By the way, if you're going to be doing aerosolizing procedures, it may be a good idea to put on 2 sets of gloves. My reasoning behind that, and this is my reasoning, is that you may want to peel off a glove so that you can touch something otherwise. You could touch the keypad or you could touch the ambulance handle or something like that. 2 sets of gloves is probably not a bad idea if you're doing the high-risk stuff. How do you get that stuff off? This is probably the time when we're really more likely to get exposed, and I think that's been meted out in actual studies, where the time when you get exposed to stuff is when you're taking this garb off. It's not while you're wearing it. It's not that you messed up. It's while you're taking it off. So how do you get that stuff off? Well, it makes a difference if it's a washable gown or not a washable gown, and I'll show you why in just a second. Let's take the washable gown stuff first. So in this case, you want to take the gloves off beforehand. So I will take and grab the cuff on this one. Remember, this is all kind of closed up, so I'm going to grab the cuff here with my dirty hand and peel that glove off. I've got that peeled off, and if I've got a second one, let's just take it this way. I've now got an exposed hand. I'm still holding on to this with this side. What you want to do is reach your finger underneath the glove to what is theoretically a clean section of your gown and your glove, and rock that forward. Now, you're almost certainly going to bump into some of the dirty parts of the other glove, but if you've turned them inside out, then that should theoretically be cleaner. It'd probably be a good idea to do a little hand sanitizer or wash at this point because you've probably come in contact with some of it. Now, after you get the gloves off, again, this is assuming you're using a disposable gown, you're going to remove your eye protection. Keep in mind that everything on the front of you is contaminated because germs, only travel in two-dimensional planes, and going out of that two-dimensional plane is going into a different dimension for them, and it's really a wicked experience. I'm kidding. Germs essentially assume that everything on the front of you is contaminated. So this part of your eye protection is contaminated. Theoretically, this part back here is not. So I'm going to grab the earpieces themselves and rock them forward. And again, just slide it forward. If you touch up here, that's contaminated. Got that off. You may be tempted to remove your mask next, but hold off. Because the next thing we're actually going to do is remove the gown part. So assuming this is a washable gown, what you do is reach back with your theoretically clean hands, grab the back of the gown, do any untying that you need to do, and pull it off of you that way. Pull your hands out like so. Now, again, you're going to contact parts of the gown with this. This is a good time to do some more washing. You can put the gown on the ground first or whatever it is that you want to do, but you're going to need to do some hand cleaning. The last section here is removing the mask. Keep in mind, again, dirty, clean, theoretically, back here. So we take and move it forward that way. Again, good idea. If you're taking off the gown in that fashion and it bumps against your hands, like now your hands are contaminated theoretically, so you probably should be washing them in between the taking off the gown and the touching your face to remove the mask. Let's talk about if this is disposable. This time I am gowned up in a woven or plastic thing that is designed to be ripped off of you, basically. It's not designed for you to reach back and grab stuff. It's a little bit different in terms of, if you remember, with the washable gown, you took off your gloves first, and then you reached back and you peeled the thing forward over top of your gloves, and that was the recommendation there. I would actually say that this is probably a cleaner way to do it. So, in this case, I got my gloves on. I walked out of the back of the ambulance. I'm ready to get in the driver's seat, or I'm done with the patient. I'm walking out of the hospital. In this case, take the gown, grab the front, and pull forward and pull that thing off. What I'm actually doing here is keeping my hands out in front of me, like so. I'm going to pull my hand back, and as I do so, the whole thing is going to be protected by my glove and by the inside of the gown. So the only thing that is going to come in contact with the dirty outside part of the gown is my gloved hand. Same thing there. I'm again going to peel forward, and none of my clean arm or clean hand has touched the dirty outside of the gown. That's great. Okay, I've got the thing off. I've pulled the whole thing off. Now I've got these gloves on and the mask and the face. At this point, gloves are dirty. Absolutely. What I would do is take and grab the dirty part of the glove with my other hand, get some fingers under there, pull that thing forward, and now I've got a clean hand here. How do I get this glove off without touching anything? Take my finger, put it along my clean hand, and yes, there might be a little bit of exposure. If you left a tab of your glove up there, it might be okay. But I'm going to slide my finger back behind, and again. Now my hands are clean. I can take off the rest of my stuff. I take off the eye protection first, grabbing the backs, not the front, which is contaminated, grabbing the backs. And then I'm grabbing the back of the ties or the earpieces on the mask. Now, I've probably got something on my hands. Good idea before I grab my glasses or anything else. Let's go and wash my hands. Hand sanitizer, hand sanitizer, hand sanitizer. I'm clean. My clothing have stayed clean. My face is clean. Everything else is clean with me. I can put my stuff back on, and we're ready to go.